What's up guys, welcome to the Metal Roofing channel. I'm Thad Barnette. Today we're learning how to safely handle and store finished metal roofing panels and trim because the wrong storage and handling practices can cause oil canning and inflict damage to the metal like scratches, dents, or gouges. Let's start with handling panels, and this includes carrying, lifting up to the roof, and general safety. When carrying panels, you need to make sure you have enough people assisting so that it doesn't sag and cause oil canning or even damage the ribs. The rule of thumb is typically to have more than one person carrying the panel if it's over 6 feet long. If it's between 7 and 15 feet, aim for 2 to 3 handlers. Between 16 and 30 feet, 3 to 4 handlers. Between 31 and 45 feet, 4 to 5 handlers. And if it's over 45 feet, get someone every 10 to 12 feet apart, with the first and last handlers about 5 feet from the ends. These long panels are very prone to oil canning if they sag, bend, or they're dropped when being carried. The panel should be carried on its side where the flat part of the panel is perpendicular to the ground. In this orientation, the panel is more rigid and less likely to bend. Also, do your best to carry it from the bottom and not from one of the seams so you don't damage the ribs. Wear gloves when handling the panels to protect from cuts, and especially when carrying copper or zinc panels that are susceptible to fingerprints. Panels should be moved one at a time or 2 at a time if they're short enough. When moving 2 panels, make sure the coated sides are facing each other and be extra cautious so the panels do not cause damage to one another. Be careful of where you lay the panels. Set up a supported, clean surface and place the panels down with care. Keeping them off the ground will help protect them from gravel, concrete, or anything else that could scratch the paint or gouge the metal. And this is a good time to remind you to always take the PVC film off the panels after roll forming, but before panels are installed. You can keep the film on while handling the panels to provide an extra protection layer, but make sure it gets removed if the panels are going to be exposed to any UV, heat, or moisture in storage, because the PVC can break down and leave adhesive residue and plastic stuck to the panels, and it is tough to get off. When it comes time to get the panels up to the roof deck, you can hand them up individually using the perpendicular panel handling method we talked about earlier. You can also use a lift or crane to raise the panels to the roof deck while ensuring the full length of the panels are supported so they don't sag or bend. And you can also lift the roll former up to the roof height and roll the panels directly onto the roof deck. While this method requires some additional steps, logistics, and safety considerations, it does reduce the amount of handling the panels receive. Let's move on to panel storage. If your time frame of storage is only a few days, use these tips as needed and as requirements dictate, but if your time frame is weeks or months, many of these tips become more critical. Always store panels in a dry environment with relatively stable temperatures. Avoid prolonged exposure of pre-painted panels to wet or humid conditions, which can cause paint blistering or substrate corrosion, especially at the cut edges. Significant temperature differences and fluctuations can also cause condensation to develop on the panel. If bundles of nested panels become wet, separate them, wipe them with a clean cloth, and place them in an area where air circulation will help them dry completely. Airflow is important in general, just in case condensation were to form. So panels can be stored in a bundle or in a crate, but make sure air can circulate through the panels. Store panels under a covering or roof whenever possible. If you're storing the panels outdoors without a roof overhead, it's best to cover them with a loose-fitting, waterproof tarp to protect the bundle from rain or snow while allowing for air circulation and drying of condensed water. The tarp also shades the bundle from direct sunlight, which helps to moderate temperature extremes and UV damage and protects the panels from dirt, debris, and other contaminants. Lay the panels on a surface that supports the entire length of the panels, such as a pallet or 2x4s. This is also a time where you can place them on a sloped supported surface to make sure any condensation or any water can drain off the panels or the tarp. Again, we strongly recommend never putting the panels on the ground, as rocks, grass, or the pavement can scratch the metal or negatively react with the paint or substrate. Do not put metal panels on any treated lumber. These materials can cause an adverse reaction that can degrade the metal and cause premature failure. Position the panels in one of 2 ways. Fan out the panels with the top panel color side down to protect the coating, or stack the panels with the color sides facing each other. In both scenarios, always stack the panels at an angle so any moisture can adequately drain and doesn't pool on the metal like we discussed earlier. Secure the panels together when needed. If they're stored loosely on a project site, secure them with some type of strapping so wind doesn't have an opportunity to blow them around the job site. Be sure the strapping used will not scratch or harm the paint finish. Be sure to store the panels safely away from people, tools, commonly used areas to make sure they don't get damaged or become a tripping hazard. If you have any tips on handling and storing panels, or you have any questions, comment down below. We'd love to answer them. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnette, and we'll catch you next time.